Jay here for Stretford Paddock. This is the Paper Talk. As you can see, we're live. We're in the studio. We are a little bit late. Thank you to everyone that's stuck in there and hung with us. We've not forgot about you, like some of you were suggesting in the chat. A few gremlins in the machine, but we've sorted it all out. Loads of stories to get through. Obviously, the main one focusing on Mason Greenwood. Where is he going to go after Manchester United announced that he will be leaving the club? So we'll get into that. Also, some transfer rumours in terms of incomings as well. And a little bit of a... not a transfer rumour, but something dispelling a rumour about a possible outgoing, which is a massive relief to me because it's a player that I absolutely love. So we'll get into all that. Loads of people in the comments already. Philip Collier says, Jay, I've missed your shine. Thank you. Tobias Nilsson, Phil Berry, Jamie White, Jacoya Trott, DJ, good to see you all. BMW Racing 1974 says, morning, Jay. How was your week off? Yes, it was good. And I came back and there was nothing to talk about. Nothing was happening. So it was a bit quiet when I got back yesterday. But no, always good to be back. In fact, I was here for the watch along, wasn't I? I almost forgot. Make sure if you're not doing already, you subscribe to the channel. Big thank you to everyone who's shown us love by subscribing. Right, let's get into it. Let's talk about Mason Greenwood, the story that never ends. At first, it looked like he was going to stay. That was the rumours, wasn't it, last week? The club were planning on announcing he was going to stay. So the report from Adam Crafton in The Athletic, along with a few others, but he sort of led the way with all that, did very well. Then, yesterday, came the story that, well, not the story, the announcement that he's not staying. After the backlash we saw when it looked like he was going to stay, the club obviously did a bit of a U-turn, said that he's going to leave. There was this statement from the club. There was a statement from Mason Greenwood himself. You may argue he didn't write it, but it came out from, it was, attributed to him. And there was a statement from Richard Arnold, Manchester United's chief executive, explaining the club's decision. So we know Mason Greenwood is leaving. Those statements have made that pretty clear. Now the question is, where's he going to go and how's that going to work? Is it going to be a transfer? If it is a transfer, I presume it's going to be a transfer. I'd be very, very surprised if it's a loan move, to be honest with you, after those announcements. If it is a transfer, how much is he going to get? Are we going to get for him? And where's he going to go? There's a couple of stories doing the rounds this morning about potential suitors for Mason Greenwood. There's one in the evening news, and I think this has come via the Sun, hashtag Don't Buy the Sun, saying that Steven Gerrard and Jose Mourinho are both interested in Mason Greenwood. Says Mason Greenwood is reportedly in line for a £10 million move to Saudi Arabia to play for Steven Gerrard. Says that Al Ettifaq are considering whether to offer a $10 million a year deal for the United forward. There's also a claim that there's interest across Europe from Jose Mourinho's Roma, supposedly keen on a deal of their own. There's a few stories doing the rounds that championship clubs were looking at him and other clubs were looking at him. I'll get to that in a minute. But I don't see Mason Greenwood going to Saudi Arabia as a 21-year-old, just from a purely footballing sort of point of view. It would be quite a surprise if he was to go to that league, to be honest with you, because it's not the most competitive league if you look at other leagues across the world, especially across Europe. Going to Saudi Arabia does feel like a bit of a strange move for a 21-year-old. And I get there's mitigating circumstances. This isn't a normal situation for a 21-year-old footballer. I get that. But I think that if there is a potential for him to move into a club in Europe, that would make more sense for a player who's obviously going to want to get his career going again after a year of not playing. Get involved in the comments in the chat, as always, and let us know what you think about that. It does feel a little bit like, maybe he'll go to Saudi Arabia. That could make sense. Jose Mourinho knows him. Maybe he'd want to bring him back. We did hear rumours sort of a few weeks ago that Jose was looking at taking him to Roma. Obviously, a lot depended on what happened with him at Manchester United, and now we know he's not going to stay at Manchester United. Just got another story there as well. Are you right, Joseph's move that thing out of the way there, bro? The running order. Says several teams contacted Man United over signing Mason Greenwood. After it was announced the forward will leave the club, with strong interest from Italy and Turkey, including ex-United boss Jose Mourinho at Roma. So they're backing up the story that we've seen in the evening news, saying that Jose Mourinho could be in for him as well. This is from Mike Keegan, and he said that they've already been contacted by clubs. Teams are interested in him. There was talk that he could go to a championship club, but a couple of championship clubs have looked at him and said, no, there's rumours or reports that he could go to a club in Europe. That seems to make a lot more sense, according to some of these reports. The only question is, will he be willing to go to a club in Europe? We know from his statements, from reports, that he is about to have a baby. is he willing to go to a club in Europe, move his family? Maybe he will. Maybe he'll want to get away from everything and go to Europe. I know he's not getting away from it all completely, but move away from England, go to a different country, get a bit of a fresh start. That could be a possibility for him. I think there'll be clubs in for Mason Greenwood. I wouldn't be surprised if more start coming forward now. Obviously, there's a lot of baggage there, to say the least, if I can call it baggage. But this is still a player that is young, scores a lot of goals. Just from a purely footballing point of view, you can put the morals to one side for 1 second, scores a lot of goals and can play anywhere along the front line. And it was a player that people were talking about, and myself was talking about potentially becoming United's all-time top scorer. So we know he's got the talent. The issue is what's going on off the pitch. Now, Manchester United have obviously said that they don't think he can continue at the club, but they've sort of made out that he can't continue at the club, but it's almost like that statement said he can't continue at the club, but he's not really done too much wrong, so he could go somewhere else and crack on with his football. Now, you may argue, well, that's just them trying to sort of protect him so they can get some money for him. That's a different debate for a different for a different day. But the fact of the matter is he's leaving Manchester United, and now the big question is, where's he going to go? Is it going to be Roma? Is it going to be Saudi Arabia? Is he going to stay in England? Is he going to go to another club in Europe? Get involved in the comments and let us know what you think about the situation. Where does Mason Greenwood go from here? How much do you think the club are going to get for him? That's a big question. You know, if you'd have said to me before this popped off, if Mason Greenwood leaves Manchester United in 2023, as a 21-year-old, how much you think we'll get for him? I'd have said about 100 million quid, honestly. I thought that was the level of his talent. Now with what's going on, you're not going to get that for him, and I think it's going to be a lot less. But you would expect the club would want some sort of fee for him. Loads of people in the chat and the comments. I'll try and run through them all. Obviously, it's very emotive subject in it and what's going on with Mason Greenwood. There's a lot of different people with different opinions, and I get that. Just make sure you are respectful when you're having a discussion about it. Spamalina says, we don't need nasty characters like Mason at United. Has taken too long to move him on. Obviously, you had the police investigation, so the club had to wait for that. Then when that was concluded and the charges were, I think the charges were dropped. It wasn't clear the charges, like one of the statements says. The charges were dropped. It's important we're accurate with that. The charges were dropped, and then the club did their own internal investigation, which obviously took, I think it was about 6 months, wasn't it? I think it was February where the charges were dropped, and then the club started their investigation. That went on for a little bit longer than you'd have expected. We all thought there was going to be an announcement before the season started. Obviously, the season has started. Then we had these reports that he was going to stay, and then there's been this U-turn. Aaron Walker says 20 million. That doesn't sound too ridiculous to me. Orion Games says 40 million minimum. It'll be interesting to see what happens with this. Two Beanie says Man United SHIT show. I agree with that. It's just, I think the way it's been handled by Manchester United hasn't been great. It's almost like the club hasn't made the decision because based on this investigation and what they found or any sort of moral stance. It's like they were going, they've done an investigation. They've gone, right, we're going to bring him back now. The reports come out, or the story's been leaked, the backlash has happened, and then they've gone, actually, no, we're going to get rid of him now. So I don't even think you can give Manchester United too much credit for this. It just seems like a bit of just an absolute shambles from top to bottom. Jake Harvey says he hasn't played for best part of 2 years, hasn't even trained with the first team. People thinking we will get decent money are crazy. What is decent money, though? That's the thing. You could still get, I think might even be able to get 30, 40 million for him. I don't know. You'll have to see. It depends a lot on who's going to come in for him, because a lot of clubs might go, well, look, if Manchester United aren't keeping him because of the sort of the moral reasons or whatever, then why should we take him on? Are our own supporters going to show us the same sort of backlash that we saw from Manchester United fans? It's all right for us to go, well, we're Manchester United. It's different, and I think that statement, I think from one of the statements, might be the one from Richard Arnold or from the club, spoke about the spotlight being on you when you play for Manchester United. But if he goes to any club, there's going to be a spotlight on him. And there might be fans of other clubs who go, look, we don't want him. You know, the same reason that a lot of Manchester United fans don't want him. We don't want him either. Let us know what you think. Stuart Thomas says sell-on clause. Stephanie Griffith says, morning, Jay, big up, with a brew and a thumbs up emoji. Alex Buckingham says, we've said he's going. If we get a fee like 40 million, I'd be shocked. Kaz Levin says, United failed him. Daniel Coe says, can we be done with Greenwood now and move on? We can when he's gone. I think we can all move on once he's been transferred. But until he has been transferred, it's still going to be a story. The papers are still going to be talking about it, and we're still going to be chatting about what the papers are reporting. Obviously, whether you like it or not, this is a big story for Manchester United, what is happening with Mason Greenwood. It'll just be interesting to see. I can't see it happening whether he goes out quickly and Manchester United brings someone else in the attacking lineup. I don't think that's going to happen. but we'll have to wait and see in terms of whether Mason Greenwood goes abroad or stays in England, or what happens with him, whether he does go to Saudi Arabia. A few clubs being linked with Mason Greenwood. Make sure, if you're not doing already, you are subscribing to the channel and hit that like button. Let's talk about some incomings. We've been linked with Ryan Gravenberch. Now, this feels like it's 2022 all over again. We were linked with him last year, weren't we? It says here in the Evening News, United are considering a late move for Bayern Munich midfielder Ryan Gravenberch. As you can see there, it says Gravenberch, who played under United manager Erik ten Hag at Ajax, has been a peripheral figure at Bayern since he joined the Bundesliga champions last summer. Liverpool have been linked with Gravenberch after missing out on Moises Caicedo and Romeo Lavia, who both joined Chelsea. So, Gravenberch, we were linked with him. He's played for Ajax. So, obviously, we're going to be linked with him because every player that's ever played, either played for Ajax under Erik ten Hag, or just been at Ajax, or even been on holiday to Holland, seems to be linked with Manchester United recently. And probably a good cause, actually, because we have got form for buying players that Erik ten Hag knows. It's like every player we've bought seems to have, I think there's maybe only Casemiro has a connection to Erik ten Hag. Even Mason Mount, I didn't even realise that at first, but wasn't he at Utrecht or something when Erik ten Hag was there? So there's always been some sort of connection when you look at like Martinez, when you look at Antony, when you look at Eriksen, when you look at Sarah Malacia. It does feel like, if Erik ten Hag knows these players, he'll bring them in. Ryan Gravenberch, obviously a very talented young lad. Not happening for him at Bayern Munich. Doesn't mean he can't come to Manchester United and do a job, though. Let us know what you think in the comments. Have you seen a lot of him? Do you want to see him come to United? Have you got an issue with a player who's pretty much surplus at the moment to requirements of Bayern Munich coming to Manchester United? Similar situation to Marcel Sabitzer. I think Marcel Sabitzer actually did well when he came until he got that injury. He looked like a decent player. And I think the injury did for him, because I think had he stayed fit, he could have played a bigger part for Manchester United towards the end of their season. So I don't think it didn't really work out for him, but I don't think it was a quality issue there. I think he was a very good footballer. He is a very good footballer. I think he got injured at a time when we needed him. Red Barron in the super chat says, can these people who say his girlfriend took him back educate themselves on domestic abuse cases? Obviously talking about the Mason Greenwood situation. I will say this, if you are affected by what's gone on with Mason Greenwood and the situation, because I've spoken to a few people who I know have been talking about it, and it says it's sort of brought a lot of feelings, a lot of experiences, triggered them a lot, then make sure you do speak to someone and go and get some, have a conversation with them. Take yourself away from all this for a bit if you find it difficult to cope with, because it is quite emotive, and I get that. Sorry, just looking through some of the chat. Monkey says Greenwood has big potential, big mistake by United. Different opinions. Gravenberch, let me know what you think about him. We spoke about Mason Greenwood. Do you want to see Ryan Gravenberch at Manchester United Football Club? Can he come in and do a job, or should we be aiming higher than players that are surplus to requirements at Bayern Munich? Personally, I'd have him in the squad. I think he's a good player, and I think he can do a job. He can play in multiple positions as well, can't he? Ryan Gravenberch. Joel, where can Ryan Gravenberch play? You're an expert on him. Midfield mostly, just midfield. Right, okay. He can't play in multiple positions there. He can just play midfield, but we need a midfielder, so why not get him in? Talking of players who aren't going anywhere, Raphael Varane. We had this story yesterday saying that Raphael Varane was going to go, or I think it was Sport Bible or someone said that he was linked with move to Saudi Arabia. Seemed a bit unlikely, to be honest with you. Obviously, he's still got a lot of time left on his contract. Seems to love the club. Won a lot of trophies at Real Madrid. Won one trophy at Manchester United. You'd think he'd want to stick around for the Champions League and help us to do something in that. You'd think he'd want to stay at the top level as well. I don't think he's ready to go to Saudi Arabia just yet. Plus, he just retired not that long ago from international football, seemingly to give himself another chance of focusing on his club career. Story came out that he was going to go to Saudi Arabia. This has been scuppered or dismissed by Julian Lorenz, who's a very reliable journalist. He says, I didn't think I needed to do this, but the rumours are going too strong now. So no, Raphael Varane hasn't been contacted by any Saudi Arabian club. He's very happy at United and wouldn't want to leave, even if one contacted him. So there you go. Raphael Varane, who is our top scorer, don't forget, this season, isn't going anywhere. He's staying at Manchester United. He's happy to stay. And frankly, I'm glad of that. I'm happy to see him staying, because I don't think we need to lose Raphael Varane right now. He's a starter for Manchester United. He's a very talented defender. I love Raphael Varane. I think he's amazing. I just think it's injuries in it. That's the only issue. But I don't think selling him to a Saudi Arabian club makes any sense whatsoever. That would make us weaker. And you can go, we can go out and buy someone. Can we? Are we just going to go out and buy a defender as good as Raphael Varane in the 2 weeks left of the transfer window, whatever it is, a week left of the transfer window? I don't see it. Santa Notch is in the chat. He says, I don't see us getting anyone else in. Have a feeling our budget won't stretch. So he's not too confident on us bringing anyone in. There were rumours that Manchester United could be in for a couple of players. I think there was an article in ESPN saying that Manchester United wanted to bring in 2 more players, one of whom would be a goalkeeper. So the goalkeeper's obviously going to be there. You can see it there. A midfielder and a goalkeeper, but must trim the squad. We've got players that I didn't even realise that are still in. Like Eric Bailly's still in. I thought he'd gone. Dean Henderson, we know that Crystal Palace were in for him, but he's not gone anywhere just yet, has he? Also, Donny van de Beek. It looked like he was on his way to Real Sociedad, yet he's not gone yet. And Brandon Williams. So we've got players that you think, okay, they're not going to get a game at Manchester United. They've still got a lot to offer. I think Eric Bailly on his day, I know he gets injured a lot. He's a very talented defender. Donny van de Beek, we know what he can do. We saw what he did at Ajax. He was on the Ballon d'Or shortlist, wasn't he, at one point? And obviously Brandon Williams, who's a lot younger than you think. You forget how young Brandon Williams was when he broke into the United first team. Dean Henderson, of course, had a good spell at Nottingham Forest till his injury, had a good spell at Sheffield United, was even Manchester United's #1 for a short time under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Let's not forget that. So you think these players, we can, get something for him. It's just a question of how much it is. I think there might be a bit of a deadline day frenzy at Manchester United. I wouldn't be surprised if we've seen the likes of Harry Maguire, maybe Scott McTominay, maybe Donny van de Beek, Brandon Williams, Dean Henderson, all going late in the transfer window, and possibly some players coming in. We know that we definitely need to add to the squad. People saying bring in Sofian Amrabat and that'll be the answer to all our problems. Maybe it does solve some problems. I don't know. It's gone a little bit cold on that front, but there's obvious rumours and reports there that a manager does want to bring in another midfielder, whether that is Ryan Gravenberch, whether that is Sofian Amrabat, whether that is someone else. As always, we'll keep you posted on the channel. So make sure as well, if you're not doing already, you are hitting like, share and subscribe. We're going to be back later on. Got loads of vids. If you've not done so already, go and check out the other videos on the channel. We had loads of podcasts already this week and updates and all that good stuff as well. So make sure you are hitting like, share and subscribe. I'm Jay Moy. This has been The Paper Talk, live from the studio. Thanks for watching.